What is up, everybody? Today we're going to talk about making a hip hop beat and making it sound like you're using a sample even though you're not. So, the idea for this came to me when I was listening to some music the other day, specifically Going Bad by Meek Mill and Drake. And there's also another song that has a similar beat, Dat Side by Sahai the Prince. And I was listening to the beats, and they both had like this piano melody in them. And it sounded like they were trying to make it sound like a sample, but I feel like it was an original piano loop. So I started thinking, how could I make that? How can I replicate that sound? So the first thing here I have is this contact piano, and we're gonna write a little 2 or 4 bar melody right here. So I think I'm gonna make it in F minor. So what I'm gonna do here, very easily, I'm gonna open up a empty channel. I'm gonna click on this purple button right here. I'm gonna scroll down to minor natural Aeolian. Then I'm going to click F3, drag it all the way out. And what we're doing here is we're just putting the entire scale in our piano roll so that when we go back to contact, I can see exactly what we're working with. So I'm just going to start with an F minor chord right here. I think we'll go up a third. Maybe drop it down. I like those chords, and now that we have those chords, I have to write in a little melody. I'm going to also kind of add in another lower layer here just to give it more depth. Can make these notes right here a little lower velocity by highlighting them and then going to this lower part here. And you can just adjust the velocity because now that you only have them highlighted, you go down here and that's the only thing you're going to be able to control. Yeah, it sounds really good so far. And you can see how having the ghost channel here makes it really easy to just kind of go through notes even if your music theory isn't great. Yeah, that's it. And now here we have this piano melody, right? And it's really cool, but we're trying to make it sound like a sample, and that kind of insinuates that it was played by hand or played live. So I want to make it sound a little more natural and a little less robot. You can see how right now everything is on the line, on grid. So we're going to change that a little bit. So we're going to highlight all our chords here, and we're going to use a really cool feature in FL called strum. And how we get that, we click on this wrench right here, and then we click on strum. Alternatively, you could press Alt-S to pull up this menu. I'm going to put it probably right here. I still want them to sound all like on the downbeat, but I do want to give it a little bit of glide. So you can see there, when I turned it off, it just kind of felt choppy again, but now. So I'm gonna click accept here because I'm pretty happy with that. And now the rest here, what you could do is a cool little feature I found out. You highlight a note, you hold shift, and then by using your mouse wheel, you can kind of just move it like this back and forth a tiny, tiny bit. So that's super cool to me. So I'm gonna just do that with a bunch of these notes here. Again, we're not trying to really change the whole rhythm of the loop. We just want to give it a little bit of a natural feel. So we're not gonna have everything hit round grid, because when the piano player is playing, they're most of the time not playing to a metronome. So even if they were, it wouldn't be exactly on time because they're human. Alright, I'm really happy with this loop. So I already have it on this mixer track here. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to put a fruity limiter on it. It's fruity compressor. We're going to put a fruity limiter on it. I'm going to kind of brick wall compress it a little bit here. Just by, I'm just going to compress it here a little bit. Just to make sure we're at a nice even starting point. Alright, next we're going to load up an EQ here. I'm just going to use a parametric EQ too. So right here I'm going to take out all the low end. I'm going to really raise up the highs. Brighten up a little bit. We take out all the lows here, not because it's natural, but more we just don't want it to conflict with our 808s later or other elements. It's just good to have it out. Also, once we put some more effects on, it'll give it a little bit of that warmth back, so don't worry about that. Can raise it in the 500s a little bit here. Up next, we're going to use a plugin, and this is really where the key of everything is. It's called RC20 Retro Color. I just found out about this just Googling online and looking up videos on how to get this kind of sound. And it's really cool. It's kind of like, it reminds me in some ways of Deep Blue Glitch in the way that you have multiple effects just in one plugin and the colors and everything. But it's not time-based, it's literally just affecting the entire sound. A lot of cool stuff here. So what I'm going to do here is first on this vinyl one, right here. This is going to give it that kind of crackle effect. Well, I'm going to turn all the other ones off first. So just on this noise. I'm going to put the tone up a little bit, make it a little louder. You can hear that already. I'm going to turn the mix down a little bit, down to like 12 or 13%. So you can just hear it there in the background. Super cool. Up next, I'm going to turn on the wobble feature. And you can hear as I turn this up, it kind of detunes the sound. Makes it wobble. And I'm going to put this all the way to wow. I'm going to put the rate, I'm going to keep it right as it is. I'm going to turn on stereo just to widen the sound up a little bit. I'm going to put this flux somewhere in the middle, probably like 40%. I'm going to turn the mix down. I'm going to turn the percentage right here up. And this is what it sounds like so far. You can hear it's just separating. You have a nice little visual component here too to add to it, kind of show you what's going on. It's just separating them. Sounds really cool in my opinion. Already it's starting to sound kind of sample-like. Right here on the distortion, we're going to use the iron transformer. And we're going to put the focus here in between like 40 hertz and about 300. And we're going to turn this all the way up. We really just want to be distorting a lot of the middle body part. Then lastly, we're going to touch this magnetic part. We're going to put the knob up to about 30. And we're going to just turn the rate up a little bit and put the dropouts up a little bit. And now we're here on this EQ. We're just going to lower this to about 2000, raise this maybe about 150, maybe 200. And now one of the coolest things about this plugin, as I'm just using it right here, I mean all this stuff you could do, right? You have all these effects here, 2 of them we didn't even touch. And then you have a built-in EQ. It's so cool, it's super dope. And it's really just changing the sound. Next we're going to turn the width down to 0, make it completely in mono for right now. And we're just going to turn the gain up a little bit. So just so far, if we get A-B what we had and what we have now, this was the original loop. And this is it with the effects we have so far. Super cool. Up next, we're going to use a Waves plugin called Monomod. And this is just going to give it some more detuning, kind of stereo effects. So right here, we're going to load the Wow preset. And it's basically already done. The only thing we're going to do here is we're going to drop the AM depth to 0 and put the FM depth up to 15. And now you can hear what this sounds like. What this is basically doing is detuning it basically on one end. I'll A-B it so you can hear exactly what it's doing. You can hear it kind of makes it wobble in between your left and your right headphone if you have headphones on. It's almost having a sort of phaser effect, but it's detuning it instead of phasing it. Really cool. Up next, I'm going to load up Fruity Stereo Shaper. I'm just going to use the Stereoize 3 preset, and this is just to give it some width. I'm going to lower the delay a tiny bit. Up next, I'm going to load up another EQ. Just going to take out some more lows that we kind of brought in with all our effects. And I'm going to knock off some of the high end here. And now I'm just doing this just to kind of further kind of degrade it and try and make it sound more old and more sampled. This is just personal preference though. And now something I found that's really cool is to load up gross beat and use the halftime preset that everyone uses. And now by default it sounds cool. But now if you put this time knob to 20%, it almost gives it like a counter melody kind of effect. You'll hear what it sounds like right now. You can kind of hear in the background. It just gives the whole thing more depth. It sounds super cool to me. And lastly here, I'm just going to load up a fruity limiter and just raise it a little bit in volume. Just limit it so everything's hitting. I know I have a nice even signal to work with. Alright, that's it for this part. I'm going to play the original loop just without any effects on, and I'm going to turn the effects on just so we can compare the two. And now with the effects on. Unreal, right? Sounds so dope. Alright, in the next part, we're going to go over the drums that we're going to use. Alright, so in this part, we're going to make some drums. So the first thing is, this beat's at 130 BPM, which is cool, but I'm going to put it up to like 155, because I really wanted to give it a nice bounce. Maybe 150. Yeah, sounds good. So I'm going to open a new pattern here. And I'm just going to put it right here. And what I like to do usually, and I like to listen to the first melody as I make the drums just to hear what it's going to sound like on it in real time. So I think I'm going to do that here as well. First though, I got to get some drums, find a cool kick that hits hard. It's probably my favorite kick of all time. So I'm going to load that one up. Well, it's we need a snare for sure. I like this Tory Lanez one. Throw this one in too, maybe we'll layer them. Next I need some percussion. That's good. That's good. There's a classic, we'll throw that one in there. Need a hi-hat now. That sounds dope. And a clap. I'll just load this one up. And an 808 lastly. That one sounds really dope. I'm going to adjust the sample start here. As you can see, it doesn't start exactly where I want it to. And now before we go into make our drum pattern, just a tip for 808s. If you don't know what key it's in, you go right here, and then you right click the waveform. Then you click edit in audio editor. That'll pull up in Edison. You can see already it pulls up right here, but to find that, the note, you would right click it again, go to regions, and then click detect pitch regions, and it'll show you that it is in the key of, or the note is C sharp too. And then over here, back on the sample, you click this wrench right here, and then you right click C sharp on your keyboard, and now it defaults to C sharp, so now whatever note you play in the piano roll, it will play the accurate note for you. So I'm just going to go ahead here and start making a little drum loop. I'm going to do the kick first. I'm going to put the velocity for my kick all the way up. Gonna put this on so mixer track 2. Let's do the snare now. Snare and clap. I like to lower the velocity of my off snares just a little bit, just to give it a nice little rhythm. Go layer it with this clap right here. Put these on mixer track as well. Sometimes when you're making a loop and you're just going as quick as I am, it's easy to kind of get lost in it and forget to kind of organize, but it's very important to organize on your mixer, so always make sure that you keep track of that. Can do some percussion now. Could just put some random velocities on the percussion here. Make it sound kind of natural. Make these all decently low. Could pan this slightly to the right. Lower the volume. That one's pretty cool too. Now let's do some hi-hats. To start a hi-hat loop, I always right click on my hi-hat and I click fill each 2 steps. Just gives us a basic pattern to work with. And then from there, we can start to have some fun. This is kind of a Southside 808 Mafia trick right here. If you go to where it says control, you right click it, you go to fine pitch. You can make little hi-hat slides just by holding your right click on the first note of the where you want the slide to be and then dragging down. It'll make a nice little slide. Sounds super dope so far. Gonna adjust the order I did right here. Gotta widen these a little bit, separate the stereo just by this knob down here. If you drag it to the left, it separates it, makes it a little more stereo. If you drag it to the right, it makes it more mono. Now the 808. So I'm going to copy our kick pattern here. I'm going to paste it into the 808 piano roll. I'm going to go back to our velocity. I'm going to put it to normal, so it's not super overblown. And I'm going to drag it up to F. And now we should have a decent 808 loop just by default, but we're going to play with it even more. Alright, so what we're going to do with the 808 is we're going to go to the wrench here. Or not the wrench. So we're going to do the 808 here. We're going to go to our envelope, and on the volume, we're going to turn it on. We're going to put everything except sustain down, and we're going to put sustain all the way up. not decay, sustain. And what that's going to mean is that whenever we have a note here, it won't ring out at all. It'll just only play for as long as we play it for. So let me give you the example right here. You can see when the note ends, the 808 ends. So to get back to the full length of the note, we're going to click Alt and then L, and it's going to drag out all of our notes except for this last one. And now we're good to go, and we start messing around with the melody. Just going to do some note slides here. Nothing too crazy. To do a note slide, if you don't know, you double click the note, and then you click this little slide button here and click accept. Pretty happy with that pattern. Gonna put that in a mixer track and put a little bit of Camel Crusher on it, just a tiny bit. I'm gonna go to the Bridge Clean preset. I'm gonna leave it on full mix. I'm gonna lower the volume of our 808 in the mixer here. Lastly, we just need a crash. So I'm going to drag this one in right here. We're going to mix it a little bit. It's just not super loud. Alright, cool. Now that we have our drums done, we're going to go and arrange the beat. Okay, so finally it's time to arrange the beat. So what do we have here? We have our melody loop, we have our drum loop, and this crash, obviously. So we're going to start off the song, I think, by having our melody but playing it higher. So I'm going to make this pattern as unique, and then I'm going to click Control A to select all, and I'm going to hold Control, and I'm going to press up on my arrow keys, and it's going to bring up the whole octave. And now it sounds like this. And now at the end here, I wanted to do a little tape stop effect. So how I'm going to do that, I'm going to go into our master here. I'm going to load up D-Blue Tape Stop, which is a free plugin. You can just find it online. We're going to, on the trigger, we're just going to click Create Automation Clip, and then by dragging it up, it'll make it do a tape stop effect. And we'll end it right before the drop, obviously. We're going to put our pattern one there. So we have our drum loop here, but if you want to separate it into the different parts, very easy to do. You go Tools, very easy to do. You go Pattern, and then on Pattern 3, which is our drum pattern, you hover over it and then go to Split by Channel. And now you'll see that you have the entire loop in the separate drums, which is super useful for this part of the process. All right. Say I didn't want the hi-hats in the first part. Very easy, just drag it over. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to put the percussion in the second part here. Just to give it some movement. And then I'm going to have in the first half here, I'm going to have our normal low melody, and then I'm going to bring it back up to the high melody. Alright, so this could be the beginning of the beat right here. We'll listen to it real quick. For the next part, say the verse, just drag it out and do an even lower version of the melody. I think that's a pretty good idea because it'll leave all the room for the vocals to shine. Might want to leave the 808 out of that part. You know, now that I listen to it, I think I'm just going to do the regular low melody without the 808. It's really about experimenting as far as the arrangement, how you want to arrange it personally. It can be as normal or as creative as you want. And now I'm going to drag this here at the beginning. But I'm going to add another instrument real quick I just had an idea for. Go load up a serum and get a nice little Reese bass. So I got the Reese bass here. I'm just going to make a nice little bass pattern for the bridge. Can bring up our F minor real quick again. Alright, cool, I'm happy with that. Let me just mix this a little bit so it's not super loud. I'm also going to go with the patch itself and give it a little bit of slide. Alright, this sounds super cool to me. We're basically done. At this point, you can make it however long or short you want, depending on how many verses you want to do. Now that we have our finished product, let's listen to the entire beat. Alright, so that's it. Hope you guys learned something. I thought this was pretty interesting. Hope you guys did too.